Like many of you, I grew up with stories about the Holocaust. I went to Poland for the first time with USY, United Synagogue Youth, when I was 16 years old. And then I visited Auschwitz and Birkenau with March of the Living, here with our Sinai Temple Sisterhood and our Sinai Akiba Academy. And repeatedly on those trips and afterwards, I heard the same question asked, time and time again. How was it possible? How was it possible that the world let 6 million Jews die? 6 million. How could the world keep silent then? Those who lived right outside the death camps, those who lived thousands of miles away and heard about the atrocities of our people, how could someone willingly earn the title of bystander? A bystander being defined as someone leading with passivity, apathy, or out of fear. Someone who chooses to stand still, closes their eyes, and does nothing. This week, it's Elie Wiesel who is running through my mind. Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor and author of Night, who said, action. Action is the only remedy to indifference, indifference being the most insidious danger of all. Because if anyone thinks that the acts by Hamas on October 7th, 2023 does not impact them, then the world is in for a rude awakening. The unprovoked attack on Israel was an unprovoked attack on the Jewish people. The unwarranted brutality unleashed on Israel, that's unwarranted brutality on the soul of humanity. You tell me how someone can be silent today. You tell me how someone can be a bystander after this past Saturday, which coincided with Simchat Torah, the holiday that is supposed to be the most joyous day on our Jewish calendar. No, it's this week in which we learn very quickly who stands on the side of goodness, who stands on the side of righteousness, and who stands on the side of peace. And that's why I say with so much pride, in this community, in Sinai Temple, Sinai Akiba Academy, Sinai Temple Religious School, Mount Sinai Memorial Parks, and truly the Los Angeles Jewish community, in this unfathomable time in Jewish history, in this unfathomable time in Israel's history, I have heard your voice. I have heard your pain. I have heard your cries and your confusion and your heartbreak. And instead of saying, I am choosing to hide under the covers, you've showed up. Showing the mothers and the fathers and the grandparents and the grandchildren who are mourning, who are numb, who are praying that they will yet again hear their family members' voices. You are showing each and every one of them through this nightmarishly dark time, through this unbearable anguish, they are not alone. And not just that, you are showing them. You are showing Hamas, the bearers of evil, the champions of terror, that they will never break the Jewish spirit. For the flames that fuel Jewish passion, Jewish spirit, Jewish life, well, today they shine brighter and they grow stronger than they ever have before. As you heard from our incredible B'nai Mitzvah this morning, today we read the story of creation. And the Torah tells us, V'choshech al penei tehom, v'ruach Elohim merachefet al penei hamayim. Before the world was created, darkness was found on the surface of the earth, and God's presence swept over. But it was only then, Only when God's presence was felt in this world, only then did God say, "Let there be light." Meaning where and when God's holiness is experienced, that is when darkness is rid from this world. When someone has the opportunity to see God in the other, to see God in a moment, that is when lightness forms. And so this week, I wanted to share where I felt God's presence and where I saw God's light. Let me explain. On Monday, we received a phone call from Oded, one of our Sinai Temple security guards who happens to be Israeli. Now, as soon as Oded heard what was happening in Israel, he knew he had to return home and be with his troop, be with the IDF, and figure out how he would do his part. But here was the catch. Oded wasn't fitted properly to defend himself or others. He knew that if he got on a plane, he'd be getting on that plane without tourniquets or bandages or the gear or the normal kinds of materials and supplies that IDF soldiers need to have in order to fight this kind of war. Now, we know the IDF has these items, but it's a matter of distributing over 300,000 reservists. Imagine the amount of supplies needed. And so Oded knew he didn't want to cause any trouble or a burden. If he could get these things fast, he would get them here in the States and then help distribute as much as he could when he returned back to Israel. So what happened? You happened. We told this community that we needed tourniquets, we needed headlamps for IDF soldiers, battery packs, dark socks, and shirts. And when we said this, you collected these items within hours, so that Oded could take them back to Israel and distribute to those in need. And then we spent Thursday nights packing extra supplies to go on a chartered plane that one of our Sinai Temple members arranged. The plane left late Thursday night, and now additionally, more supplies will go with our beloved Rabbi Taff, who will leave for Israel on Sunday to also distribute those supplies. But that's not all. And by the way, if it was, Dayenu, that would have been enough. No, and I'm so glad he's here this morning, Mike De La Portes, our head of security. When he knew that Oded needed to be fitted properly, he gave his own bulletproof vest to Oded. And he said, "I want you to come because I want to make sure you are fitted exactly right so that you are safe no matter what you face when you enter the land of Israel." And then, after Mike did that, literally giving the vest off of his own chest, the clergy put our hands on we placed our hands on Oded's head, and we blessed him with Birkat Kohanim, the blessings of peace, that he should go to Israel safely and, God willing, come back to us safely, here to all of us. Oded is God's light. Mike, you are God's light. You, all of you who dropped everything to ask, and I have to tell you, our phones, it's been nonstop. In each and every one of you asking, how can I help? How can I do my part? You are God's light. Let me share how else you've shown up. We know there are so many different ways to financially support Israel. We've listed many different ways on our website. And we've chosen to concentrate our efforts, our initial efforts, in two areas. The Jewish Federations of North America, they immediately opened an emergency relief fund for Israelis, in which 100% of the proceeds go to Israelis on the ground. Now, this fund specifically supports terror victims. Think about that. Within 48 hours, these families receive necessary resources, yes, now for rebuilding their homes, but also to provide money to pay for funerals. You have supported this fund. You continue to do so. And as one of your rabbis, I'm grateful. I could go around to each section of this congregation and point to different people who have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't single out each and every one of you, but I am so indebted to you, as is the state of Israel. But I want to share a second effort that was made through the Friends of Israel Defense Forces. Now, in our support of FIDF, I am reminded, and I think about the faces and voices of the newly created Panther Battalion in Israel. These are IDF soldiers that we visited this past summer on our family mission. Now, these soldiers are part of one of the only co-ed combat units, who are trained to fight terror within Israel. We met 18-year-old kids. I can only imagine what they are facing or where they are. But what I do know is that when we asked all of you, Sinai Temple and friends, to help us purchase a fully operational ambulance to send to the front lines, that is upwards of $220,000 within less than 48 hours. Sinai Temple, Sinai Akiba Academy, Sinai Temple Religious School, Mount Sinai Memorial Parks. Because of all of you, we exceeded our goal. One ambulance bought. But Sinai Temple, let this be just the beginning. Keep giving. Let Israel feel the power of our community as we save lives, even thousands of miles away. I know we're tired. I know we are heartbroken. But it is our responsibility as your clergy and your leaders to keep us steady, to keep us motivated, because I know this is a marathon. It's a battle against terror, a battle against those that have already shifted the narrative, naming Israel as the villain. We know this story all too well, and so we must stay vigilant. So look to us. Look to Sinai Temple as to how we can continue to support, continue to show up. We must remain vocal, and we must stay united. This is not a time for Jew to turn against Jew or point fingers or start blaming each other for what Hamas began, for what Hamas continues to do. And so hear this: Sinai Temple unequivocally stands with the state and people of Israel. And we stand united as one community, with one purpose and goal today, and that is to be a beacon of light to Israel and a beacon of light to the world. This week, this past Tuesday, I was reminded about the story of Reverend Rabbi Leslie Hardman. He was officiating at the first Shabbat service organized for the survivors of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Just imagine, it was April 20th, 1945. Think of the horrors they had witnessed. Imagine the terror inflicted on these souls, and yet somehow with the strength of the Jewish spirit, these survivors showed up wanting to pray Kabbalat Shabbat together. And they concluded that service by singing Hatikva. In an environment that spawned death, their words, their singing birthed hope. And then, when the Israeli anthem concluded, Hardman, the first Jewish chaplain to the British Army, yelled out with fervor, Am Yisrael Chai, may the nation and the people of Israel live forever and ever. Well, today is October 14th, 2023, and this week we have witnessed horrors we could never imagine. We are living out a time in history we could never predict. And yet through it all, we have hope. And through it all, we choose life. And through it all, we will continue to be God's light in this world. And we will say an undying promise and conviction. Am Yisrael Chai, Israel, you shall live forever and ever. Shabbat Shalom.